Today we are going to look at the poem I Cry, written by Tupac Shakur. Sometimes when I'm alone I cry, 'cause I am on my own. The tears I cry are bitter and warm. They flow with life but take no form. I cry because my heart is torn. I find it difficult to carry on. If I had an ear to confide in, I would cry among my treasured friend. But who do you know that stops that long to help another carry on? The world moves fast and it would rather pass by than to stop and see what makes one cry. So painful and sad, and sometimes I cry, and no one cares about why. Now, as I read the poem, you could probably already tell that the tone of the poem was kind of sad. In the next slide, we're going to take a look at what specifically is revealing this sad tone. Remember that tone is defined as the author's attitude toward what he's writing about. So first we have to decide, what is the author writing about? In this case, he's writing about his feelings or his life. So what helped create that negative, sad tone? Well, here I put some words in red that helped me understand what the tone was. I saw words like on my own, bitter, heart is torn, difficult, no one cares, and there are other words. Now I look at these words and then I decide he is using these words to describe his feelings or his life. Are they positive or negative? When you're trying to determine the tone, it's always good to start with positive or negative. Not only do I know that these words are more negative, but they are often associated with sad feelings. So remember, to identify the tone, you want to look at the words that the author is using to describe what he's talking about. These can be words or phrases. So even if you don't completely understand the poem, you can look through and find words that are describing and then decide if they're positive or negative. Again, some of the words I pulled out are on my own, bitter, heart is torn, difficult, no one cares. I know that those words are associated with being more negative and also, in this case, sad. There are other words in this poem. So the important thing to take away here is that you can identify words that the author is using to describe his subject. Now, sometimes finding or determining the tone can help us understand what the poem is about. And sometimes you will be asked specific questions about the tone. And what does the tone do for us? How does it help us understand what the poem is about? So this particular question says, how does the tone impact the meaning of the poem? In other words, how does the tone help us understand what this poem is about? This is a possible constructed response that you could write in response to this question. Tupac Shakur uses negative words to describe his feelings. For example, he uses words like bitter, torn, and difficult to create the negative tone. This negative tone helps the reader understand that the narrator feels sad and lonely. Now, I've kept this very simple. Let's look at the first sentence in this short paragraph, which is a constructed response. I say that Tupac Shakur uses negative words to describe his feelings. So I'm telling you that the words are negative and that the poem is about his feelings. The second sentence says, for example, he uses words like, and then I list some of the words. You have to always have specific examples to back up what you're saying. And then finally, I show how this tone creates the meaning. This negative tone helps the reader understand that the narrator feels sad and lonely. It's quite simple once you pick out those tone words. I know you guys are going to do a great job with this.